1. Hey guys, here we are at the beginning of season 3 of the Quiggin Out MMA Podcast, and I've got a very special guest with me. I know everybody loved the Battlebots episode I did for the end of season 2, so what better way to start season 3 than the one and only Jackpot, who was just in, the finals of Battlebots. We saw, the sad conclusion, but let's get right down to it. Thank you so much, Jeff Waters. I really appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, it's good to jump on here. Sadly, we didn't make it to the final episode, but we made it to the second to final episode, so that's definitely better.
And I love the sense of humor, and we'll jump right into it. I mean, I gotta ask you, you guys, you're one of the newer bots. We look at going into the season. I say newer, but you've been around for a while. What was it like to find out you were going to go against Tombstone? Like, what was that feeling to be like, oh my God?
So, yeah, after it's Tombstone, you're going to be scared, obviously. But going into that, we just got done fighting Malice, and we were down for. So, the filming's over 2 weeks. So that Monday, Tuesday, we fought back to back. It was a deadlift and Malice. Then Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, nothing. So after Malice, it was basically fully rebuilt. And we kind of found out that, I think it was Thursday night, because it was a dark day, as we were fighting Tombstone Friday morning. So we were already, we were already using the Malice frame, so we didn't really have to convert too much, because it was already set up for that type of fight. But we knew going into that it was a lot of basically it was going there doing a gamble. Like they had a strategy going into that, but I was kind of thrown out the window within the first 5 seconds.
Yeah, and to anybody who watched that, I mean, those weapon on weapon had to be the most terrifying things ever, because that was always a thing you avoided with Tombstone. You don't go weapon to weapon with them. And I've noticed over the years, people are starting to do it, and it's working. And I feel like you guys threw the kitchen sink at him, and I don't think Ray was prepared for that. I really don't. Especially when both your bots went flying across the arena. Like, oh my God.
Yeah, it's a lot of energy being dropped out there at that time. Most of the people, they go into Tombstone, especially like Ray's come to expect, where if someone's putting a big old plow on the front, they're thinking, oh, he's just going to, nudge it into me or use it just to barely, upset me. Mm-hmm. In our situation, it was kind of more of a feeder into our weapon. Basically feeding his blade right into our blade. And I wish I had the blade with me on hand, but it was basically 1-inch AR steel going from perfectly straight. It's pretty much bent to the point where it was locked up in the wedge. That's why our weapon stopped that fight.
Oh man!
So our weapon was perfectly fully functional after that fight. It's just it jammed because it was bent so far.
I mean, that's so crazy, because those 2 big hits. I mean, you went flying. That was like a roulette wheel gone wild. Like at that point, and I just remember watching it going, he's crab walking. Oh my God. And then I gotta hand it to you. The little at the end, the little
Yeah, that was me telling Robert, do something.
Oh my God.
Because Robert Robert last year was running the weapon and the self-rider. So I just mostly focused on just delivering it to him.
And I mean, it was an excellent fight. And, anybody watching, I know you're all like, what the hell are you guys talking about? Go back and watch that fight. It's only a minute, I'm pretty sure, depending on what they cut for TV. I mean, the one against it was quick. It was explosive, and it was an amazing, amazing match that the 2 of you had.
Yeah. Like you said, you were excited when you saw crab walking. That's funny. They had to actually stop me from going back in, because he saw me. I was charging right back in, even with the guts hanging out. Just I was zoned. Yeah. They had to basically I think it was our teammate Lucas grabbed me by the back of the shoulder. Stop.
Well, and we learned, and I know there's a bit of controversy coming out, and we'll talk about that later, because some of those later fights, even as a fan,
Mm-hmm.
it was not what you expected. But I really, we talked about this before the start of this, but the MMA element that really comes into it, and the more I talk about it, the more it makes sense. But in that moment, you saw a wounded person, and you can either run in there and risk getting caught,
Mm-hmm.
or you could sit back and see what they have to do. And sometimes in a fight, you have to do the same thing. You have to, evaluate in that moment. And I feel like it's the exact same thing, except you're controlling a robot instead of being a human being.
Exactly. Yeah, that's kind of why I was like right back on him instantly, because I didn't know if he was going to work. Like I knew we were damaged, but if he's still fully going, we still had to kind of just like go into him.
Yeah.
Because that would have been a weird fight after that if his weapon was down as well on Ray. So if he was still driving, that'd be interesting. Having to guard our weak spot on the side of the batteries that's hanging out for
I did see that.
2 minutes.
The guts were kind of hanging out.
I think the battery is. I'm currently using that battery as a power supply for my little chargers, so it's somewhere around here. Like I don't want to put it back in the robot, but I use it as a power supply for charging little batteries.
I mean, that's fantastic, actually, if you really think about it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man. So, you guys have the next match against Blip, who Blip kind of caught, I think, the whole tournament by storm, because they didn't look like they were that much. But that new technology they used for that flipper started to really kind of change the situation and change how things are going to be done in the future, I think. So what was that fight like? Because you even had the writing on the bottom, like, no.
Oh heck, yeah. Freaking going against a flipper, you either know you're either gonna lose some way stupid, or you're gonna win and you're gonna have no damage. There's no in between with control bots. Like you can still get some damage, but it's not you're not getting hit by Tombstone.
Yeah. And you survived that. I mean, like you said, you have to do a full rebuild, but
yeah. So against Blip, we have an issue. Obviously, you guys all saw it, where because we have a big weapon compared to everyone else's, tiny weapons like Witch Doctor, Endgame, Hypershock. They all had the little tiny verts. Because we had the big vertical spinner, it basically makes that whole front end of our robot a tripod. So it's typically it would bounce out of that situation, but if you looked at our front forks, they were, like this. So it just one was up, one was down, and it kind of just locked us into position.
Yeah. And I mean, again, it was amazing to watch this year because all the people you expected to be into the finals, some you saw in there, some you didn't. And really to see, guys like you and Blip and, I hated that you guys had to fight Malice. I know you guys are pretty close from what I can understand. So
I'm actually going into season 5, which was our rookie season, up until I think 6 weeks before filming. I was still on Malice.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
So I was gonna say that's what I thought. I was like, I didn't want to say it wrong and be like, wait, what?
Actually, is that right there? Let me 1 second.
You're fine. You guys want to take a moment? The Malice.
Here it is. Yeah, freaking.
Oh man. Oh.
So that was as of like 6 weeks after that then we kind of just threw together the first jackpot.
And it's amazing this set, and I want to talk about what came out about this month, I believe, about a new design that's coming out. So we'll talk about that later because I'm looking at a picture of it right now. And if that's
I think I know you're talking about it. That kind of fixed the situation that we had in the last episode.
Dude, that looks insane. So I'm super excited to talk about how that came to be. But let's start from the beginning. Like, I know as a kid, I was watching it. I loved BattleBots. I loved watching that stuff because I didn't understand how exactly it worked. And I talked about it on the episode with Malice, where I had this idea to make like a bot that was a scorpion with vertical blades in the claws and like a hammer for the tail and all this like crazy stuff. And I'm watching now and I'm starting to see like the designs are just getting so much more intricate. So talk about like why do you build robots? Like, why are you doing this? And how did you get to this point?
That was kind of getting into this was a, kind of just wanted to do that growing up. You're like, oh, these are, neat. It's a hobby that I grew up like with RC cars and planes. And I did a lot of battle wings, which are kind of like they're the flying wing line of sight planes. So there's a little propeller on the back, and it's just two rudders, and it's basically just a wing. And you have little streamers on them, and you try to steal the streamers from the other planes.
Oh, you started from the beginning. Like you were like, I'm gonna do this later. Like this is gonna happen.
Yeah. So it kind of I built later than that. I did a few builds like maybe 12 years ago when I was in high school, but it was like nothing like that would have. And I never made it to an event. Like I did a little bit of Vex robotics, but it was 2017. I finally built something for competition.
Oh wow!
So that was actually, where's he at? He's around here somewhere. I'm getting
you guys. You always have something right by you. You're like, hold on, let me grab a piece of it, like right here.
Yeah. Well, we're getting ready for an event tomorrow, actually.
Oh man.
It's one of our events. It's one of the Vegas events.
Oh sweet.
So that's going to be waking up tomorrow, getting the arena ready, taking it to the bar, getting that all ready.
And that's something I never knew about BattleBots until I really started delving into it a little bit further, because you guys have a bunch of competitions like all over the country, almost like minor leagues.
And a lot of the people that do the smaller stuff, they do everyone that does the big stuff started on the small stuff, really.
Yeah.
Like a lot of the drivers and stuff, or even that come through, or even like cherry picked out of like, oh, this guy does a lot of good fights at this skill level with a similar bot type, so they'll like hand the controls over to like someone else to optimize it.
That's insane.
We're getting to the point in BattleBots where it's slowly turning into almost like a race car team, where like the builder is not the same person that drives it, and you have the captain is more like the crew chief or the face. Then you have a drive. Like Malice is really a lot like that. Like Bunny's the face, and she kind of keeps everyone together. She's kind of like the crew chief of Malice.
Yeah.
Then Lau is kind of like the guy behind the scenes. He would be kind of like the manager, like the fight manager. Then
I'm trying
to like get the comparison back over. Yeah,
it all works.
Basically, it'd be like David Lau would be owning the gym. Bunny would be like the trainer.
Yeah.
And the fighter would be David Rush.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's this very similar dynamic, similar to racing too. It's like a hybrid between MMA and like NASCAR.
Hey, you guys do make a lot of left turns. But I mean, so 2017 isn't that long ago. So for you to build something for competition, we definitely want to talk about what's going on tomorrow, because by the time this will come out, you guys have already competed in tomorrow. But how do you go from just really building something 5 years ago and being in BattleBots 3 years in a row, and then making the round of 32, the round of 16, and then, getting as far as you did? Like, how crazy was that for you to go as far as you did in that little amount of time?
Actually, I think I might have the record for like the quickest, like from the small scene to like the big scene, because but now it's like I was the first wave of that. Like I was the first one of that new wave, but now you have all these other teams that are coming up super quickly. Like Riptide's a good one with Ethan. Ethan was just, if don't quote me right, I think he started like 3 years ago.
Okay. Jeez.
Doing, yeah. I think I'm not quite right on that. I know Calvin Eba, the driver of Mad Catter, he started like right after I did, and he got in the same year I did driving Mad Catter. But there's a lot of young people coming in that are like super, like they're new, but they're not new.
Mm-hmm. Well, and first of all, I love Mad Catter. I just love the characters that have been brought to BattleBots because again, it was gone for so long, and I never thought it would come back. And when it did come back, ironically enough, for the sake of this show, you had an MMA an MMA fighter become one of the core commentators.
Oh yeah, Kenny, yeah.
And so with having someone like Kenny talk through the fights, I've heard him commentate fights. I've watched him fight for years. You really like the worlds start to blend together. And it was really like in the back of my mind where I'm like, this is the same thing. You have to go in there with a game plan. You have to evaluate, the size of the arena that you're in, whether it be one of the smaller shows, one of the bigger shows. And some of the fighters had to deal with that when there was a 25-foot cage and there was a 30-foot cage. And that'll bring us right to the two least favorite words of every driver almost this year or this season, the upper deck. So talk to me about the upper deck and why that should go away.
So, I mean, I'm a vert, so it doesn't affect me. It keeps me closer, which was one of the issues we were having with signal. So the shelf kind of brought the fight closer to us, which was good. But the shelf was very split. Like some people like it, some people don't like it. Like we've taken polls from the builders, and it's kind of like maybe like 60-40. Like 60%.
A flipper who's gonna love it.
Yeah, I think the main issue with it is it was sprung upon us last second.
Yeah, and that's what Bunny had said. It was about 30 days before is what she kind of alluded to. And so what was that like going in when you guys are game planning, you're figuring out your strategy for the year, and then you see this and you're like, well, that doesn't affect me, but it's going to change how everyone else fights us.
I mean, like we were already done. Like the build was already done like 4 weeks out, so like there's not really anything we can change like physically. But as far as like strategy and all that, it's just more of like a case by case. Like it's kind of hard to like you can strategize for everyone that's on the roster, but it doesn't really matter until you like know the night before who you're fighting, and you don't know who's bringing what and how something's really good. Like Valkyrie went from most destructive last year to having like all these issues this year, and you don't know, like you can have someone from this year that's not even like you just pick one that didn't even make the top 32 or even lost in the 32. They can be like the dominant force next year. So it's hard to plan ahead of time until you're at the event.
Yeah, and that's fighters at least have weeks and weeks. Sometimes they have those last minute changes where somebody gets hurt and they're like, all right, you're fighting this newcomer on 4 days notice. You have to change your whole game plan. I still think one of the things that surprised me the most, there were two things that surprised me about this round of 32. Ribot being the number 2 seed and Hydra being the number 32 seed?
Yeah, 34 if you do it right.
And they had to fight for their chance to get in there. So, when we talk about bots having the issues, you guys are filming this over the course. I think Bunny had said it was 16 days. So, roughly 2 weeks.
Yeah, roughly 2 weeks.
We're watching this over weeks and weeks. We're thinking you have all this time to do everything. When in reality, you said we're fighting Monday, Tuesday. Okay, we're off Wednesday, Thursday. Okay, we find out Thursday night we're fighting Friday. Like, how do you prepare yourself for something like that in this world? And how do you use like the other builders to kind of, supplement and kind of help you out? Because I know you guys have some camaraderie back there, whether they want you to know that or not, but I know you guys help each other back there. So what's it like having to prepare for these, fights back to back to back to back?
A lot of it is done in like the lead up to the event. Like it's pre-building parts and modules and having extra frames ready, and basically you have a front end for this type of robot, you have a front end for this type of robot, you have a fork for this, you have a different weapon for a certain type of spinner. So it's creating little things that you can just throw on the bot to get it ready quicker than a lot of the teams, especially because everyone knows when you're there, you're usually fighting that Monday, Tuesday, or the first two back to back. So a lot of people have two robots ready to go. Like I think Malice had both their bots ready to go. They had one with the bar. I can't remember. Rolling Blackout, that was the name of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, they had one with Rolling Blackout, and I believe they had the other one with the old cage spinner from last year.
And we saw them go through those issues, and then again having you guys fight each other. Was there? I can't imagine there was animosity between you two going into that, but there was kind of like one of those like, we're gonna see who comes out on top. Like let's give it all you got and let's see what happens. And you're even wearing the shirt, which I think is fantastic. Yeah. What was it like to go against, like you said, your old team at that point, and come out on top?
Well, it's kind of it's weird because we're all buddies outside of the robots. Like Bunny's actually here in town for the event tomorrow, and we're all kind of close. Rush now lives out here in Vegas, so I see Rush all the time.
Oh, that's cool.
But it's it's kind of a friendly rivalry type situation. Like I think Lau, no, it was Rush was driving that fight.
Yeah.
So I fought Rush a lot before just because of smaller weight classes.
Mm-hmm.
I fight Lau all the time. Lau with his little wedge robot, Unknown Avenger.
Oh, I heard about this one. Okay.
Yeah, so I see these people all the time. So it's the same situation except bigger.
Mm-hmm.
You're like, I'm gonna beat the shit out of you, or you do friendly banter, shit talk before it. It got a little spicy right before the filming or right before the fight because we were overweight by 2 pounds, and it was there's little cosmetic hearts on the side, and we were trying to argue that was our 10-pound cosmetic weight.
Yeah.
And, Lau wasn't buying it. And he said, we spent all this money making Malice lighter. So you need to figure out something to make yours light to be in weight. So that's why on the back of Jackpot, you notice the cover plate for the StreamHack isn't there.
I did notice that.
So we had to pull that off to make weight.
Oh, man. And, you guys, we always talk about the heavyweight bots. Like there's a weight limit.
Yeah.
And specifically in the UFC, there's a weight limit for the heavyweights. There's other organizations that do super heavyweight, and it's anything over 267 pounds. But it's so funny because fighters will cut their hair on the day of the weigh-in just so they can make weight. And I'm like, you guys had to take a plate off the back.
Yeah. It's different because like the fighters you weigh in, the weigh-in's usually the day before or like the week before, and they do the whole hype up event with it and all that. So like we can't really do that because I know like the big thing with all the fighters. I don't know if I know they're testing for it in Japanese MMA where they would dehydrate themselves to make weight. See, we don't really have the ability to do that.
No, and over there, like in the Asian culture, One Championship specifically, one of the organizations, they're making people fight at their natural weight.
Yes, so
it's not having to weight cut, and you're seeing
better fights.
You're seeing better fights. You're seeing people. I've talked to fighters who say, "Okay, I cut to 125, but on the night of the fight, I'm 145." Can you imagine gaining 20 pounds overnight. Like, that blows my mind, and it cannot be good for your body.
No, that's why it's good to have people fighting at their natural weight, but I think that's why boxing kind of has it a little bit right, where it's 10 pounds each way up.
Yeah.
But also, at this other of it, you don't know all the champions because there's so many weight classes.
This is true, and you've got so many belts. And I read something the other day that said boxing has definitely washed out because you've got 500 different champions. Like, you can't have the heavyweight champion of the world and have 8 of them.
Yeah,
at
exactly.
the same time. I respect boxing. I can appreciate it, but boxing is not for me. Kickboxing is for me. MMA for me. Hockey is for me. Go Bolts! If you can't tell, there's a bunch of behind me. And it was a hell of a game last night. They gave me all sorts of friggin'. We had 2 goals taken away from us, one in overtime, and then we had to score again. And I was like, oh my God, like, make it stop. But boxing for me didn't get exciting again until Deontay Wilder. And without Deontay Wilder, I probably wouldn't have watched boxing, and I wouldn't know who Tyson Fury is. And for me, that's why I love MMA, BattleBots. Like, you never know what's going to happen in there. People go in and they see Tombstone versus Jackpot. They see seasoned veteran Giant Nutwitter versus, somebody who's been there for 2 or 3 seasons. And you guys beat him in under a minute.
Yeah.
Like, anything can happen. If you're watching a football game and the score is 49-0 and there's a minute left in the 4th,
you kind of know what's going on.
There's no way they're going to win. But in a BattleBots fight, we saw it so many times where it's like, all right, Donald Hudson's going to win. Okay, Donald Hudson is not going to win. Ray Billings going to win. Okay, no. A minute, no. And it is ever evolving. And I'm kind of loving what's going on now because it's becoming more popular. Farouk is the man, hands down. I hope he's as cool on, in person as he is on TV.
He is.
But realistically, it's ever evolving. And I think having somebody like Kenny Florian doing the commentary, you're getting a different perspective. And you're getting an MMA perspective on a robot fighting championship. Like, never thought the 2 worlds would meet. But for you, is that the exciting part about it? That really anything can happen? Because I have the feeling that that's also nerve-wracking and exciting at the same time.
That's kind of like the same with the smaller weight class. Kind of got me prepared for like the anything could happen situations. You just kind of just prepare for the worst and just expect and hopefully you get the best. Like, you do all the preventative like stuff in the beforehand, because usually the fights are lost because you didn't wrap one thing in electrical tape or you didn't make sure one thing was tightened.
And it's got to be the worst because just like in a fight, you prepare for a striking clinic and the guy takes you down. You're like, now what do I got to do? Like, you guys have to always be adjusting. And I think what's harder for you guys is you've got one person driving, one person running the weapon, which most people don't realize when they're watching it. They think one person's doing everything. They really don't talk about it, until you see those little back and forth where they're like, hey, stop the weapon, like, do this, do that. So how hard is it to kind of get that in full mesh when even you talked about earlier when somebody had to grab you and go, stop, like, let's see what happens. Like, is it hard to mesh those 2 things together to work as a cohesive team?
It gets better over time, I think. So this year coming through, I'm going to end up running the weapon and the drive for next season. Ooh. Then we're having Lucas running the self-rider, just so I don't have to worry about it, because you've seen the new pictures of how like the self-rider has like other things, so you can focus on that. Then he was kind of the coordinator this year or last season. Like, he was kind of like, hey, this is damage on their robot, focus that, or hey, you're cutting out, bring the robot closer.
Is that a normal problem that happens, like where you guys like lose
signal? Yeah. because the signal that we use is blocked really good by steel. And robots are made of, you're basically making a Faraday cage.
How is that? Like, how did nobody think about that? That's something no one's ever mentioned. So this is blowing my mind right now.
So yeah, a lot of signals get blocked. So a lot of people like strategically place their receivers or run a lot of them or run them in different places. The robot don't poke holes so the signal can get out. I forget the exact size of the wavelength, but if you kind of say like the wavelength's a quarter inch, if you put quarter-inch holes in the robot somewhere, the signal will be able to get out.
I feel like now we're talking about a crystal burger, and I know that or a white castle burger where they put the holes in it so that everything can steam. You never think about these things. You never think about what really goes into it. And like you talked about, the build before the tournament. You can't go in there and go, okay, I got one. Like, I know this sounds crazy, but I thought you guys went in with one robot, you fixed it, and you fought the next time. The fact that you guys come in with multiple robots, multiple parts, like spare parts, you've got the hospital. Hospital. It just sounds so weird when I say it, but when they say it on TV, it sounds great. What's it like in the pits? I mean, they show us the video, they show us what they want us to see. But what's it really like in the pits when you guys are just doubling down to make sure you're going to be ready for the next fight? Because we saw that with Glitch, where they couldn't repair the robot in time. So it was a big, drama thing that they played up on TV. But what is it like in that time crunch right before a fight?
So a lot of it for the show is also hammed up a little bit, like after that Tombstone one, they kind of just like they came over to us. They looked like we were, frantically working on the robot. But if you notice, like I was just there with an Allen wrench, just like in the side of the motor, pretending that I was doing something for B-roll. So it's just a bunch of pretend you're working on things. There's a lot of that, or it's like ham it up for the camera.
Wait, you're telling me television isn't real?
What? But like after that one, we put in more work after Malice than we did after Tombstone into the robot, just because we did an upgrade halfway through the season.
Really?
So we did the upgrade right after Malice. And that's why we were kind of like upset that we didn't get a third fight, because we didn't get to really test the upgrades until, the tournament.
Oh.
And it was against Tombstone, so it was like, shit.
I feel like that's what everybody does. Like anytime I see somebody go against Tombstone, I just go, shit. Anytime I see somebody go against Minotaur, I'm like, shit. It's just... I feel like in that same respect, though, Minotaur and Tombstone aren't as scary as they used to be.
It's not really that they're not. They're still as scary as what they were. It's just everything else has caught up.
Yeah.
And Minotaur was out for. Sorry to cut you off.
No, you're fine. Go for it.
Minotaur was out for a few seasons, so they brought it's revised, but we had 2 seasons for teams to catch up.
Yeah.
To them, you saw that with Yeti a little bit because Yeti was out for a bit.
Mm-hmm.
Ray is doing a little bit of stuff, but Ray's still using wheelchair motors and stuff like that.
Wait, what?
Yeah, he's still using those wheels in the side are NPCs, which are an old wheelchair company.
I was gonna say non-playable
NCP. Yeah, so I think I got the acronym right. I can't think off the top of my head just because it's they're an old. Yeah, it's an older build. He's still, it's good. Like but it's like you can see what the power could be like with Orby.
Yeah.
But it's still Tombstone. It's everyone still goes in there and everyone has an answer for Tombstone.
Yeah.
not like there's a way to counter, but like everyone has something to put on their robot if they have to fight a tombstone.
Yeah, exactly. And I think so. The one thing I'm curious about, we hear the sounds of the robots on the TV, and I can't tell if they've just amped up the volume or mic'd them up, but some of those things just sound terrifying. Like, I feel like that's the equivalent of what a tornado would sound like outside your house. Like, does it sound that terrifying when you're sitting that close?
They actually do, like when you're spinning up in like the test boxes and stuff there, when you get up to speed, there's that thumping of the air.
Yeah.
Because the air is trying to get out of the way quicker than the blade can. So the air's trying to get out of the way, so you have this like deep bassy thump, like a like bass in a car. If you just hit bass notes in a really good sound system. So it's just like hitting you in the chest. And those hits, like you can feel the energy that's being released on them.
Jeez. So it's exactly how it feels. Because I'm like, you guys had to go through something different. I would say the last couple of years where, the crowd's all wearing masks. You guys are separated by plexiglass. It seemed like you guys couldn't really interact with each other. Excuse me. The same way you have been able to in previous seasons. So was that kind of weird for you too? Like not like having you guys all separated and the crowd all wearing masks, or
So I haven't experienced it any other way yet. I'm post COVID. I'm a post COVID bot. That's how Jackpot got in. We were a COVID bot.
That's what I was gonna say. I was like, I started doing the math, and I'm like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
So that's all you've ever known.
Yeah.
Dude, that's weird to me. Like, it's weird that there's some people like this is all they'll ever know. Like, this is how they started, and somebody's gonna go to give you a high five, and you're gonna be like, no. Oh wait, it's all right. It's okay. It's okay.
That was the whole avoiding each other at filming was more not because of COVID, but because of the static. The static electricity that was everywhere. So I don't know if you knew about that, but Vegas is dry.
Yeah.
And it's hot.
Of course.
So we had these tents, and the floors that they made for this giant, basically soft wall building was all plastic. So there's no grounding. And we have, these really big AC units. So everything metal, like you'd get these really crazy arcs coming off of them. Every time you touch something, people were, creating like solutions in their pits for grounding themselves and stuff like that so they don't shock their electronics.
I did not know about that, but that makes sense. Like you said, there's no grounding. Oh my God. You guys could have fried everything if you didn't do everything right.
Thankfully, Jackpot's dumb, so we don't have to worry about programming so much.
Oh, man. I'm just thinking about that. Like, that's what they should have shown on TV. I would have liked to see some arcs going off. Like, show me some science, when it comes down to it, right?
Yeah, so I really need to find out which production member has the video. So there's it was towards the end of filming. I think they already did everything, and we were like towards maybe the end of the second week. And they, most of the teams are already out and they're already packed and stuff like that. But we, I think it was some of us from Robot, because we were pitted next to Robot, huge Deep Six, bunch of people like that. So we like locked arms. There's like maybe like 14 of us. Then one of the production members is holding his hand against the pole for the middle building. So we all shuffle, for like 30, 40 feet, basically like that. Then we reach out to him, and we get an arc about this long, going straight to it. And he has it on video, so I really hope that video comes out somewhere.
All right, BattleBots, if you're watching, I need the production. Like, I need this. We need this video to make. Like, I need this to start the next season. Like, I just want to see BattleBots, and I want to see an arc across the screen that's from your video, because that sounds amazing.
Yeah, Well, that was a kind of running thing throughout the weekend because you'd hear shuffling, then you'd look around like, oh no, who's going to do it? Because everyone is shocking each other.
I'm like, it sounds like that's incredibly dangerous, but when you're dealing with a group of people who build robots for a living or, build it for, this competition, I feel like there's an inherent safety. Like you guys all kind of know like what's safe, what's not, or you guys are just doing some dumb shit that's probably going to hurt somebody.
99% of robot combat is people doing dumb shit that probably will hurt someone.
I want that to be the next tagline. We do dumb shit.
That's basically what Combat Robots is. Yeah. We don't make good financial decisions, so how do you think we make good safety decisions?
Oh man. I don't think I've laughed this hard in a long time, so thank you. But it's amazing because you guys are doing something that, we thought died 10 years ago. We thought the sport, like the BattleBots itself, kind of just disappeared. And then when it came back in 2015, you were like, I remember turning on the TV and I went, oh, BattleBots is on. And it said new episode. And I lost my mind. Absolutely lost my mind because I went, oh, this is what I'm telling you. Like, this is what I love.
Yeah, most people are still in that show was canceled a long time ago stage.
Yeah. I've talked to
everyone
this week, and they're like, that show's still on? I'm like, yes, go watch it.
Yeah, I used to watch it all the time on Comedy Central.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Well,
that's what you get from everyone. They're like, oh, that's still a thing.
You have to imagine my surprise. So watching BattleBots and not knowing that the builders of Gruff frequent a restaurant that's 10 minutes from my house.
Oh, really?
Because they're from like Clearwater, Tarpon Springs, like that's where I live in Florida. So I'm like, how did I not know this? How did I not know that they bring the robot to a restaurant?
Well, the other thing is you're in Florida, so you're actually in a pretty good location for events. Like if you wanted to see smaller stuff.
Oh yeah.
Let me look.
I heard Bunny told me about the one in November, and I will be there.
Yes,
hands down, I will be there.
That should be Orlando Maker Fair.
Yeah,
Orlando. That's they do the Sportsman 250, so it's 250-pound bots, but they're no like fast spinning bits. So it's gonna be like robots like Big Bill, robots like a mammoth, like stuff that doesn't have like destructive weapons. I mean, like P1 stuff like that.
Like Duck. I still haven't figured out Duck, and I'm hoping somebody can tell me like, what is the point of Duck? Control? Like that's it? There's really no damage he's doing.
So I think Duck was more based on its old predecessor Whoops, which was a Robo Games robot.
Did you just bring up Robo Games?
Yeah. So, Robo Games was, kind of like the predecessor to a lot of, like, Robo Games kind of, I think its last year was 2018. It was either 2018 or 2019.
Mm-hmm.
But that's where a lot of the teams that are on BattleBots were pulled from for the reboot.
That makes sense.
Robo Games never died, but the show itself did. So during that whole dry spell from 2005 to 2015, most people would fight at Robo Games once a year. The guys in the UK would fight at the live shows. So that initial first two ABC seasons were pulled from Robo Games and stuff like that. But Whoops was Hellwrecker's other robot, which is pretty, like, it was a tank, so that's kind of what he did for Duck. Yeah. But the problem with Duck is it has to have an active weapon because it's on BattleBots, not Robo Games. It's the same thing with free shipping. Free shipping is just a original sin with a hat.
Uh, and you're right. Like, and I saw something recently that I guess all the Robo Games, they put them online. So there's a whole like website that's dedicated to it and has a full archive for it. So I'm looking forward to watching some of that stuff just because you brought it up and it just reignited that.
Yeah.
Like, I love watching it, even if I know what's going to happen. And I got to say, for you guys, that's got to be one of the hardest things, is that you guys all knew what happened.
Yeah.
Like, you already knew all the way to the end, and you guys couldn't say anything. Like, how tough was that when people, were trying to give you encouraging words, and you're just like, yeah.
Yeah, we were going to go really deep. We won the nut this year. Yeah. So no, it's the same like any NDA thing. Like, you just kind of keep hush hush about it. At least for us, it's only like 7 months instead of like, people that do like secret work and they got to keep that pent up for years.
Yeah.
Or forever sometimes.
Yeah, right. And they make all you guys sign NDAs. They make the whole crowd do it too. Like, they're not taking video or pictures or anything.
Exactly.
And that's a level of dedication. Like, that's a level of just like, we respect the sport. We want to be here, and it's gotta be hard for you guys just to be like, I want to just tell everybody, hey, we made it, or hey, don't get your hopes up.
Yeah. Well, it's also even like some situations like you can't even like say you're accepted yet, or like, because
what's gonna happen this season? I can't say anything.
Exactly.
Did you make? No, I can't say anything. So, speaking of new seasons, like I said, this April 22 model that's on the internet. Let's talk about this, because this looks like one of the scariest things I've ever seen. So talk about this new, updated design that you're going to bring into season 7.
Let me pull up the CAD real quick so I can for things and see things you might not be able to see.
Yeah, I only got one picture. I want to know who got this picture. Like, who did you release this to?
There's a few Discord groups that are like filled with builders.
Listen, there's a BattleBots wiki that just made my day. So
I think that's where one of the photos is.
Yeah,
on the wiki. Because the guy that runs the wiki PM'd me on Discord saying, "Hey, are these actually public or are these leaked?" They're like, you can just throw them up.
It's kind of like when people leak those pictures and you're like, man, I wish nobody had leaked these pictures. And you find out later it was them who did it. They're like, oops. Yeah, that was actually me. My bad.
So which one, what photo do you have on hand?
So we've got 2 blades, 2 spikes on the front, and then Jackpot on the side.
Okay, so it's the big old roulette wheel one.
Yeah, So first of all, bravo on the roulette wheel. Like, that to me is just brilliant, given the name of the bot. But like this looks like, I'm gonna say it now. I don't care. This is a top 16 right off the bat.
I hope so, because we did better. So season 5, we went qualified seed. What was it, 11 last year?
Mm-hmm.
Then we are out in the 32. This season we were seed 10 and made it to the 16. Yeah. So hopefully next year it's seed 9 and maybe top 8.
Yeah. Let's just keep getting closer and closer.
Yeah.
And then that's, talk about this design. And I still haven't forgotten about these 2 controversial fights that need to be discussed, because I know I'm not the only one who thinks it's total bullshit who won. But never thought I'd get upset about robot fighting, but here we are.
It happens a lot. Like, that was the first one of the 2 I'm assuming you're talking about. It kind of flew under the radar, but the second time it happened, was when everyone was like, wait a minute.
Yeah. So we'll go to that, and then we'll go to the bot, because now we're on it.
Yeah.
The Blip versus Hydra, or was it Endgame and Hydra? Now I'm getting all my.
Oh, okay. So now I'm mixed. Yeah, I thought you were talking about two different ones.
Oh, I am talking about two different ones.
I thought you were talking about the Whiplash ComBot versus the the Whiplash ComBot and the Minotaur
Witch Doctor. Yeah, so I was talking about Witch Doctor, Minotaur, and Tantrum and Hydra.
Okay.
Because for me, I feel like if you get flipped that many times, like that's a lot of damage. That's a lot of control. It just, I feel like we deal with this in MMA all the time. It's subjective judging, and you've got three people who are judging the BattleBots fights, who are former builders, competitors, who have the experience, but it seems like they're not watching the same fight we are.
Well, the other thing is, you are right. You are not watching the same fight they are. It's all in the editing.
Yeah.
So that's basically you accidentally hit it right on the head.
I wonder how I did that. Thanks, buddy. Also, I have to give Bunny credit, because if you see on the streamer that's at the bottom, if you could see that, this is the ComBot Edition, and that was her idea to come up with it.
Nice.
Because again, I never thought I'd be interviewing BattleBots people on an MMA podcast, and even Bunny was like, "I don't know anything about MMA." I'm like, "It doesn't matter."
I know like just enough to talk about it at work, and I watch the fights. I'll watch whatever when Mayweather comes. Well, Mayweather's boxing, but what I mean, like when the big names, like when Cowboy is doing a fight, and when Bobby Green comes and does things. And
so, first of all, kudos to you on bringing up Bobby Green.
Yeah.
Because I bet you I could go out and find 100 people who don't know who that is. And Bobby Green is an amazing fighter. His story is even more incredible.
Actually, I just heard his story the other day. He was talking about it on the Rogan podcast.
Yeah, and there's the one of his post fights. He's with his adoptive dad, and he's like, you're my dad. Like I don't care, and people like. Bobby Green is black. This guy's white. Obviously, it's not his dad, but he was like, no, this is a
father figure.
Dad. Like my father is here with me, and
I will say there's a lot of like super camaraderie and like you are family, even though we're not related in combat.
Yeah,
like there's so many tight relationships in the BattleBots community. Well, the robot combat community. Because everyone, it's a very small big world in combat.
Yeah, and I found out how much bigger it really is. We go back to the days where, Grant, which we're all, I didn't realize the real impact he had on, robot building and everything else. He was always the guy I saw on Mythbusters, but it was like Grant was a huge part of this, and you see all these. I feel like calling them minor league is kind of disrespectful. So I want to kind of take that back, but there's different branches of it. And just like with fighting where there's, the UFC is the one everybody knows, but there's Bellator, there's PFL, there's LFC, there was all these other organizations that have incredibly talented people that just don't get the TV time.
Yeah. That's kind of like we're kind of at like that point where BattleBots is kind of like the UFC, where it's like it's the main face, but you have Norwalk, which is kind of back in the day it'd be kind of like Pride, or it'd be kind of like I know a little bit.
So first of all, hold on. So in episode 21, I got to talk to Ensign Inoue, who was a staple of Pride, and I remember talking to him about one of the fights. And I was talking about a fight that he actually was in attendance at, and he was sitting next to the girlfriend of the guy who lost.
Oh no!
And it was Igor Vorchenkin, who was like 5'10", fighting as a heavyweight, which is incredibly short. like incredibly short. But this guy had like tree trunk thighs, and he hits the guy in the corner, and the guy is out, and he's falling forward. Igor hits him 3 more times before he hits the ground. And Instant said, he goes, she looked at me, and I was like, I think he's dead.
That's a good story.
And I'm just going, like, I never expected him to tell that story. And that, to me, like, when I got into MMA, pride was, you know, I watched UFC. One of the first fights I watched was, like, WEC. It was Uriah Faber, Mike Brown, Jose Aldo, Cub Swanson. And then I met, you know, one of my best friends, Nick, who's been on the show before. He was like, oh, you like MMA? He's like, come over and watch Pride. And we watch it for like 6 hours at a time. And I just remember, like, this is my thing. Like, you don't have to be a violent person to love MMA. You don't have to love violence or be a fan of violence to actually love MMA. But then I realized that the 3 things I love are MMA, hockey, and BattleBots. And there's a violent aspect to all 3 of those.
Well, there's hockey bots too.
Wait, what?
Hockey bots are a thing.
What?
Yeah. Buddy's soon-to-be husband that does like hockey bots and stuff like that.
Wait, Lau does hockey bots?
Yeah.
Yeah, see, I know about that too. That was on the show too, because I was just like, oh, what? Why is Lau at your house?
Yeah, no, it's basically street hockey 3-on-3, but with like 12-pound robots.
Okay, my mind just exploded. Like, I didn't think you literally could blow my mind any more than what you've done, but now I gotta find this. Like, who can get me this footage? Like, where's?
I don't know of any footage. I haven't been to a hockey bot one. I know Lau goes to hockey bot events. So
all right, Lau, I know you're gonna watch this because Jeff was on it. So give me some hockey bots. Like, give me, like, there's. I never know where to point when it comes to this. You think I've been doing this for 51 episodes, and I'm still like, which way is up? Not really sure, but you know, talk about. I just want to talk about hockey bots for the rest of this. Like, we could go another hour just talking about that, but we talked about those controversial decisions. How was that received on the back end, like in the pits? Like, how was that received by everyone else to be like, what was that?
It was spicy for like 24 hours.
Yeah. And I know Witch Doctor came out and they explained that like each team has a ref, and they were being told by their ref that they were going to get counted. You know, Minotaur was getting counted out, so they didn't engage, but that's not how it looked on TV.
It's also editing on that.
Yeah.
Because I know referees are human, so they mess up.
Yeah.
It happened. You see it in everything. You see it in football, you see it in MMA, you see it in
hockey. Especially if you're a Lightning fan. Because we found out the other night we're the number 2 penalized team in the league.
Oh no. Yeah, so it happened, freaking some like there's always gonna be some type of inconsistency with the human factor and all that, but we kind of they're definitely working on the new rules package to be more fair, more across the board. But at the end of the day, it's Greg and Trey's baby. Well, it's Trey's baby.
Yeah.
So he kind of makes the final, decisions on anything.
Yeah.
We're I know we're kind of like MMA, but we're also kind of more WWE at the end of the day.
Oh. Yeah. So the correct thing to say was WWF, because we all know that's what it was. And
that's what it
lawsuit.
It died when it went to E. I still follow. Like, I'm way behind. I should have watched Mania 2 weeks ago, but
from what I read, so I grew up on wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
I grew up in the Attitude Era. I grew up where
I grew up with Goldberg.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
the Monday Night Wars and Mick Foley,
God.
Cactus Jack.
Monday Night Nitro. And you're like, what?
Then there's Night Raw, then there's Night Nitro, and everyone's bouncing back and forth. And no one had contracts with each other, and that certain episodes. What was it? It was the night that Mick Foley won the belt. Was one WCW said, don't bother watching this. Cactus Jack wins the world title against I forget who it even was.
Listen,
but it totally backfired because everyone
went and watched it.
Because they wanted to see Mick Foley win the title.
Dude, Mick Foley was the officiant at my friend's wedding. That to me still blows my mind. Like, there are pictures with him with Mick Foley. But I remember 1998 watching him get thrown off the cage.
Yeah.
And being 10 years old and going, oh my God. Oh, shit. I remember, so my dad and I would watch WCW, and if he's watched any of the podcasts, he knows my secret now. He would leave the room, and I'd switch to WWF. And I'll never forget, I couldn't have been older than 12 years old. And I switch it, and like Sable was fighting Jacqueline. I'll never forget this for the rest of my life. And Jacqueline's like on top of the referee for some reason, like on his shoulders. And Sable goes to pull her down, and her top comes off. And back then, there was no time delay. So I was just like, what? What just happened? And then it was like my dad came back in, I switched it back, and I'm like, hey, Goldberg, yeah.
Goldberg.
Listen, the fact that Sting is still wrestling.
I know, right? Well, Sting is part of AEW now, right?
Yeah, and it's amazing. Like, to be honest, I don't follow wrestling the way I used to. When I was a kid, it was every week, I have to watch it.
Yeah.
But when I catch an AEW, I am thoroughly excited about what I'm watching.
Cody Rhodes is doing a really good job with that production.
Yeah, well, now that he's in, spoiler alert, now that he's back in WWE.
Uh-huh. Yeah, there's going to be a bunch of weird... Oh, was that a big thing that happened at Mania?
Oops. My bad. I mean, they talked about it for weeks and weeks and weeks, so...
It seems like probably they worked out some type of deal, or Vince just gave him a bunch of money saying, hey, we own you now.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, what really solidified it for me was that Damian Priest stopped doing his move, the Reckoning, which is basically the Crossroads. So I was like, it's weird to watch other wrestlers do the same thing, but we could talk about that forever. But realistically, that's what I grew up on, and I realized that's probably what got me to MMA. I hated Brock Lesnar, absolutely hated Brock Lesnar. I'm still not his biggest fan, but the man knows how to make money.
Yeah.
The man knows how to make money in a way that no other wrestler has ever done before, in the sense that he's like, I'm just going to wrestle like 6 times a year. I'm just going to show up, do an F5, and then walk away. I'm like...
Exactly.
So when I saw him come to the UFC, he fought one of my favorite fighters. Right off the bat, he fought Frank Mir. And to watch Frank Mir submit him, I was like, yeah, Brock is gone. Like, he realized what this is going to be like. And then he beat Heath Herring, who is famous for his kiss of death in Pride, which if you've never seen it, the funniest video ever. It's terrible, but it's funny. So he's in Pride, and they go for the face-off right before, and his opponent kisses him.
I think I know what you're talking about.
And
I think I've seen it.
Punches him and knocks him out cold right before the fight, and you're just like, everyone's like, wait, what? What just happened?
Is he one that would like get all his like during the weigh-ins, he'd get like his opponent's flowers and stuff like that, right?
Sean O'Connell, who ended up being for PFL, who Kenny Florian ended up doing commentary for, who does commentary for Battle. See, look,
full circle.
It's full circle. before we get too far away, let's talk about this roulette wheel, and then we'll wrap it up. But I'm staring at this picture right now, and I am just blown away because I got a bigger picture of it.
Is it the one with so you get the roulette wheel, you don't have the hearts with the lifter then?
The hearts with the lift? What?
Let's see if I can.
Oh, see, we're about to get some exclusive stuff here, guys. See, this is why you come on the Quiggin Out podcast. Like that's why this happens.
Me pull up the Jackpot CAD chat real quick, and I can send you over a picture. But back on we can talk about the roulette wheel while I'm getting this photo up.
Dude, so first of all, dual vertical spinners. Not the first time it's happened, but on this scale, it looks like one of the bigger ones I've seen in quite some time. How are we bringing this to the table? Because that's going to be a lot of energy. It's going to be a lot of power. And that's going to be one scary freaking robot.
Well, it's we have the same weapon core as before.
Okay.
So it's very similar weapon. Let me. That's kind of what I was looking for. So it's actually going to be it's a very similar everything, and it's like the center core is kind of the same.
Okay.
But trying to lose my train of thought. It's actually weighs about the exact same as before. It's just because all of the energy is at the end, it transfers it better because it's more leverage.
You're still in like the 250 range.
Yeah, we're so the weapon mass is actually going to be about the same. We're spinning a little bit slower so we can spin up quicker.
Okay.
I have a really good render I'm trying to pull up for you.
That's fine, man. Listen, this is how we have to break in the season. This, we ended with BattleBots. We're starting with BattleBots. I know some people are going to be like, what the hell? Like, is this a whole new channel?
This is now a BattleBots podcast.
Yeah. Listen, anybody who wants to come on, because for me, it's the same thing. You guys are human beings behind it. You guys are still people behind it. And you have to have some creative minds together to make all this work. And that's really no different from fighting. Now I'm curious to see what's coming through. I'm like, what do you got? What do you got?
I have something rough I can send you really quick. It has a bunch of transparencies in it, so you can't really, like, you can see more towards the inside.
Yeah. Oh,
let's see.
Oh, man. I know you guys can't see this, and for anybody listening, you really can't see this, but...
Yeah, so it's very so we can talk about the one that's the Pollock one with the giant spinner on it. So they're definitely ComBot inspired. I got the side profile from ComBot from one of their team members that sent me the side on picture so I can kind of replicate their little sub feeders that they got going on there.
Yeah. And I was gonna say it looks a lot like ComBot, so I really like that. While we're on the subject, just a random thing. How do you feel about fire?
I think it's cool looking, but it's unless you're doing like really hot fire, it's not really damaging.
It just looks cool.
It does look cool.
Okay, that's what I was thinking. I was like, I love it when I see the fire, but I'm like, eh.
Well, I'm doing a 3-pounder right now that's going to try to use fire as a main weapon. It's just kind of, it's based on our mini-bot Ace.
Okay.
But it's going to have fire in the center of it.
Now, see, that sounds cool.
So basically, you kind of just lift them up and you hold the heat on them.
Okay.
So I'm actually going to do this real quick.
I just had to bring this out because it's nearby, so I just want
to pull that up in a second. As soon as I get this photo up, I can send you a screen grab of what it looks like when it's fully together.
That's crazy. Yeah, I know you were looking at that. I was trying to show you my my Malice Foam present that I got from Bunny and them. So.
Oh yeah, but Bunny's really good about her merchandise.
Dude, I gotta
She's really good about the swag.
Yeah. I'm sad that I never took a picture of it, and I usually wouldn't talk about it, but they sent me the coolest swag pack I've ever got in my life. I will say that, and I'm not trying to push it on anybody or get anybody else to do it, but it was super cool for me because I thought I was gonna get like some stickers.
No, yeah, then she like sends like everything out.
Yeah. She was like, "Oh, here's a keychain. Here's some stickers." Like literally, I think, yeah, I got the keychain. Like, I've got stickers. I've got magnets. I got a crew chief jacket, which was super cool.
Oh, nice.
I got that. So
here you go.
Oh, sorry guys, I'm not sharing any of this with you because this is so cool.
So, but on what we can talk about, like with the one that's on the wiki, it's going to have it's very ComBot inspired. So the back teeth on that are more for like so like it'll knock them up a little bit. Then the big one comes in and you're like it's the few jabs before an uppercut.
Do you feel like the cutouts? So like the actual like the spades, the diamonds, does that cut off some of the weight and help distribute it better, or is it just aesthetic?
It's a bit of cuts the weight out, so it optimizes the weight towards the outside, and it's also there to balance it.
Okay. That's what I was thinking, because I'm looking at it, I'm going, it's gonna need that balance in there. So
if you look at the shapes, they're slightly different sizes.
Yeah.
So that's how it's balanced out.
See, now that's cool.
Little hidden things and details and.
Listen, I'm a nerd at the end of the day. I'm going to look for the smallest detail, something that, and I'm looking at those and I'm like, those aren't just for looks. Like there has to be a functional thing because you guys really have to do, everything has to be functional. I know Ribot is probably the exception to that because they had the foam hands that didn't really do anything.
Well, a lot of it, like even if it's like this cosmetic, it is functional. The reason it's functional is you have to have some type of thing that makes you stand out to get accepted by the committee.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you'd have a bunch of square boxes like what we did in the old school era, where everything's like a silver square with wheels.
Yeah. And it's, again, as a fighter, fighting on an amateur stage or fighting in a lower promotion or a different promotion, like a regional promotion, you have to do something that's going to make you stand out.
Exactly. You got to bring some type of energy, or you got to have like some type of story, or you got to have something that makes a promoter want to promote you.
Yeah. I'm just going to bring up Matt Catter because that guy.
Mason's great.
I absolutely love Mason because when he gets on there, it is wrestling. That is professional wrestling at its heart.
So back on the topic of professional wrestling, there's a very, very wrestling thing coming up. It's probably going to be for the supporters, but there's would say there's two robots, and both of them have steel chairs. and it's commentated by Martin Mason.
Oh my god! I will live stream that.
We don't. I don't know how it's going to be because we have screens in the pits, but they don't have audio. So we just hear him like rambling, commentating these two fighters. He's in there with Chris and Kenny doing this. So I don't know exactly what was all said because we don't. It's just him bringing energy and robots hitting each other with chairs.
I need to see this. Martin, if you're listening, I'm all ears. I'm all eyes. I will try to match your energy as much, but I know I'm going to lose. So let's bring it to the table. Let's put you through the table. I don't know.
That's what we need next. We needed tables, ladders, and chairs match for Battlebots.
Oh my gosh. a bot just comes from the top of the battle box and falls in. All right, if you can survive the fall, you get into the round of 32. Like that's how we're gonna do it this year. Well, Jeff, thank you so much. There's times where I'm like, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to talk for an hour, and then
with this we could have kept going forever.
we could literally do this for hours. We'll definitely have to have you on again because this was so much fun. When the next season, when you're allowed to talk about it, or we could talk about the lead up, or we could talk about, what happens tomorrow. Because again, the next time we talk, that'll have already happened. But
exactly.
I think in November we're going to touch base. If you go to the Florida show in Orlando,
I don't know if I'm going to go to the Florida show in Orlando, not yet, because it's quite a drive, and Jackpot is not a sportsman.
Yeah.
So I could put a lot of that effort into doing a lot of smaller robots across the states.
Yeah.
Like to close it off back to what we were talking before we get out of here. Basically, like you got to treat like all the other ones are like smaller promotions and stuff like that. Like I'd say like the biggest promotion next to BattleBots is probably Norwalk Havoc.
Mm-hmm.
And that would be kind of like they're monthly, so it's kind of like a whole precursor, like it's like your monthly pay-per-view leading up to a big event.
Yeah, and that's what it comes down to, is that without these, again, there's no better way to say it. I'm not shitting on any of these smaller promotions, but without these promotions, we wouldn't have the BattleBots. We would not have the competitors we have. We would not have, you guys would not have that chance to fine tune things.
Mm-hmm.
And realistically, look at what's come out the past few years. Mammoth, Smee,
mm-hmm.
Huge, like bots that do not fit the norm in any way, shape, or form. And they're coming out with these new designs, and Mammoth still scares the shit out of me. Like, I'm not even gonna lie. Like, that thing is
Mammoth is big in person.
Yeah, well, that's the other thing. Whoever was in charge of filming BattleBots, showing you how big that bot really is on a cart, having
mm-hmm.
it wheeled out, changed my life. Because they don't look that big when they're in the box.
Yeah, you definitely need to make it out to a filming session next season for sure.
Yeah, I don't know who I gotta talk to for that, but I'll be there because for me, I've been covering MMA. I fell in love with MMA in 2009. I fell in love way late. Way behind all these guys that have been covering it for decades at this point. But for me, I love it, and once I get passionate about it, like I'm obsessive about it. It's like a form of, obsession when it comes to addiction, where it's just like, I love this. I want to know as much as I can about it. Mm-hmm. And when I saw BattleBots come back in, it was like an old friend coming back into your life, where you're like, oh my God, we're back together. Like,
that's exactly how it is. Yeah, we definitely have to do this again because there's a lot of stuff that we didn't even like skim the surface of.
And that's what I was hoping for. Like, doing this show, I did this show and I started this show because of COVID. Number one, I hate the sound of my own voice, believe it or not. And I hate being on camera. So
you got both of these.
I had to get over both of those things. And when I started doing this, I said, I have no idea how this is going to go. And for a while, I didn't even know if there was going to be more than one season. And the people that I've got on the show, like I have somebody who's going to be on the next season of Stranger Things was on my show, who invited me out to the next season of filming. So I was like, I'm like, this is blowing my mind. So for BattleBots, whatever NDA I have to sign, whatever plans I have to make, and since I have still never been to Vegas, ever.
Oh yeah.
This stuff needs to happen. So I think that's going to be we'll call it a New Year's resolution. Can we do that in April? Is that allowed?
I think that's allowed.
So I saved the last part of the show for you to just thank the fans, the sponsors, anyone that's made this, made you able to do this. Because the one thing I did learn from Bunny and Lau and Rush, BattleBots is not cheap.
We are like one of the exceptions when it comes to like how you can do things for cheap. But a lot of let's see, try to think of like what the polio. Well, we do have a so we're still talking with some people, so we can't really talk about those sponsors yet. But I'm sponsored by my my local union, Local 525 Plumber Pipe Fitters.
Heck yeah!
I'm Jackpot's also going to be their main sponsor this year is going to be the North American Building Trade Unions.
Sweet.
So NABTU, and they kind of represent all the building trade unions across the USA and Canada. And those are like the two we have so far for this season that I can talk about. And hopefully going into season 7, we'll have better funding, a better jackpot, and hopefully we can take home the nut.
Heck yeah. The only sport we're saying that is not a weird thing.
You got to get that nut.
I can't remember what Bunny called it, but they made that replica nut, and then the replica nut went like the one for TV went missing, and everyone was like, "Did you steal it?"
The stunt nut.
Yeah, the stunt nut. That was it. The stunt nut. Of course, on TV, we're ruining the TV magic for those people who think, like myself, that it was like, I know this wasn't filmed all, over the course of weeks after weeks, but finding out it was filmed in 16 days makes it that much cooler. It really does, because the amount of work you guys really had to put into it is kind of mind-blowing.
Yeah. Like, to circle back to like the beginning, like the fights aren't won in the fight. They're won, the months leading up to the season starting is when you win the fights. It's little things that you look over and make sure that have, redundancies and other stuff, and it makes it so you can reliably work on the robot throughout the week or two, and have things ready and making sure that you can have things ready for production's timeline, and you got to balance everything else with interviews and TV, and it's definitely one before the season starts.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's, again, no different from fighting. If you don't go through everything you do in camp is what you're preparing for that night.
Mm-hmm.
It's what you're preparing for, and on the night of the fight, you could be like, we go back to the Tombstone fight. I know in the back of your mind, you're like, we've got a bot that can win, but it's Tombstone.
Exactly.
Okay. And then you went straight weapon to weapon twice.
Mm-hmm.
And in the back of my mind, I'm like, what the hell? Oh, it worked. Sometimes you see those things, and I'll say this for everybody watching, and I know most MMA fans know what I'm about to reference, but if you've never seen it, go back and watch Pete Smith and Scott Sell, or Pete Sell and Scott Smith. Now I'm going to mix up the names. I'll send you the link afterwards.
All right.
But it's one of those moments where he takes a shot to the liver, and he literally doubles over. He's holding the side of his body, and his opponent runs in, and he hits him. The guy who's doubled over hits him with a right and knocks his opponent out, and they're both on the ground. The one guy's knocked out. The other guy's literally lying there in pain. And he's just going, I'm like, you never know what's going to happen.
Exactly. You never know.
So for me, I just want to thank, first and foremost, Combat Press is what, they picked me up. I was writing for a magazine that unfortunately went under without any warning. I literally submitted 3 articles to them, and the magazine was like, hey, we're no longer a magazine. Peace out. And I thought my career was done, and Combat Press swooped in 2014, and I've been with them now for 8 years.
Nice.
I'm thankful that they give me a platform to do this. I know they're probably really still confused why I'm doing BattleBots, but at the end of the day, it's my show. So I love it.
Who knows? They might get into it as well.
Yeah,
exactly. We could always use more publicity.
Yeah, and I will happily provide it, because it's, the things that I support, the things that people will see scrolling across the bottom of my screen. I'll be honest, I call them sponsors, but nobody is paying.
Exactly.
I am supporting all these businesses as best that I can. As you can see on the hat, there's a new pin that was not there from last season. So we've got a Streetlight Manifesto pin, which is just a band I love, and it was a cool pin to put on there.
Nice.
We've got Bertzo's Bake Shop. It's an amazing bakery in Orlando. So the next time you're over there, definitely got to get some stuff because I would tell you, it's incredible and it will make you not want to eat any other sweets again. I promise you that. She does an amazing job. So then there's La Barba Cubana. Basically everything in my beard every day is what he makes.
Nice.
He's also an indie wrestler. So if you ever look up Caden Green or Dakota, my friend Adon, his A-R-O-N, it's just Aaron, but we always like to give him a little bit of a fancier title there. He's been a good friend of mine for years, but when he started doing beard care, I was like, well, the beard's here.
The beard is here.
And now it's kind of funny because I'll wear, I've got like a, chocolate peanut butter beard oil, and people just come up and smell my beard. It's kind of weird. But having a beard, people just come up and touch it and smell it.
Yeah.
They don't ask questions. They just do it.
Yeah, just go up there and grab it.
Yeah. I'll also give a shout out to Tim Makes Knives on Instagram, one of my buddies who is a huge Forge and Fire fan, which is going to lead up to the next episode. I've actually got somebody who is a black belt in jiu-jitsu and was on Forge and Fire, so it's a nice combination.
Oh, nice.
We're still working. I know I said last season that we were going to give away the knife. I'm still working on how to do that because I don't know what the safety. The legal. There are certain states that don't allow that, so I want to make sure that whoever wins it can actually get the prize itself. And
it's not a knife; it's a decorative piece.
Yes, exactly. It's a. I don't know. I was trying to think of something fancy, and my brain just went shit. I also give a shout out to Fat Boy Jiu-Jitsu. Makes some amazing shirts. He made a combination Thor like jiu-jitsu shirt, and it's one of my favorites to wear. And really just supporting these guys because all these businesses, without them, I wouldn't be here. And just like you, and I can't get over that shirt. I'm gonna have to get one of those. Damn it. Damn it. On behalf of myself, Combat Press, and just really the 10-year-old that watched BattleBots as a kid. I'm sure it was probably older than that, but I'm just going to go with 10-year-old because, everybody loves the nostalgia.
Oh, yeah.
Thanks for being here, Jeff. I really do appreciate it. It was super cool to have you on. Best of luck tomorrow in anything that you do. Mm-hmm. And we will definitely do this again. And let's spread the word in the community because I will tell you this. If they want to talk to me, I'll be here to listen.
Nice.
All right. On that last note, so Jeff, just because Jeff was here and I had to do something big, if you guys go to QuigginoutPodcast.com, there's a bunch of merch on there, which I've never had before besides the shirt. So thanks to Epic Jits Tees for making this shirt originally, but now I've expanded and there's coffee mugs and wine tumblers and posters and everything. So super cool that that's available. One of the next times you see me, though, I might be wearing that Let's Dance shirt with Malice and Jackpot. So, Jeff, thank you so much for being here, and I really appreciate it. You have yourself a great rest of the night, man.
Thank you. Sweet.